So chapter 4, text 24, here Krishna is mentioning about a person fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom. So what is the spiritual kingdom? Let's first understand that. The spiritual kingdom is where Krishna is and his eternal Leela is happening. That is where the reality is. We're really where we belong. But unfortunately, due to our conditioned nature, due to our desires to enjoy without Krishna, we have brought ourselves to this material world. And in this material world, things are conditioned in the sense that it is not natural. For example, in the summer, it's very hot outside, but we turn on the air conditioner, which conditions the air to be cold. As a result, we have an unnatural situation, but it's comfortable to be in such a room where the AC is running. In certain other cases, it can be very uncomfortable. Let's say if we are in a room that is conditioned with less oxygen, right? It'll be hard to breathe. It'll be difficult. It's not natural. So, similarly, this material world is a place where it is conditioned in such a way to allow us to forget Krishna and to experience life where we think we are the boss, we are the controller, and it's all up to us, which is an unnatural state. The natural state of the soul is to be dependent on Krishna, where Krishna is the supreme and we are serving him. That is the spiritual world, that's the kingdom of God. The other side is here, where we think we are the controller and God may or may not exist, or he doesn't have much role to play in our lives. So, with this understanding, uh, after going for a long time in conditioned life, we question ourselves, why is there suffering? Why am I not happy? I have money, I have this, I have that. Still, I'm not finding happiness. What is missing in my life? And thus, the journey of self discovery begins. We start asking questions. And if we sincerely ask questions, we find the sincere answers, the truthful answers from the scriptures or from the sadhus or from Guru, right? And accordingly, our doubts get cleared and we realize where we are headed and what our life's purpose is. So here, Krishna is saying that a person absorbed in Krishna consciousness is meant to go back. So that means absorbed in Krishna consciousness means connecting back to our natural position rather than a conditional position where I am the controller. Our natural position being dependent on Krishna, the Krishna conscious position. So when we are in the natural state of mind, then we are eligible to be in the kingdom of God or Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan, which is where the mindset is dependence on Krishna. And here the mindset is dependence on ourselves, on the government, on artificial systems, which are likely to not be reliable, right? Material things eventually deteriorate and fail. So they are generally not reliable. That's why material things require changes. They require fixing. Spiritual things don't require fixing. They don't require change. So the point is, we need to understand here that we get access to spiritual world only when we are and when we fit in with the mindset of the spiritual world. And that is what we're doing here. With Bhagavad Gita, we are recalibrating our consciousness to Krishna consciousness, which is the consciousness of those who are with Krishna in the spiritual world. And that requires us to be consumed in Krishna consciousness, right? A person who's fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is the same as spiritual nature. So, everything around ourselves, we are surrounded by spiritual thoughts, spiritual music, spiritual activities, spiritual food, spiritual relationships, spiritual ways of decision making, etc., etc. Everything has a Krishna conscious angle to it, and thereby allowing us to perform our duties. Does it make sense so far? So, next verse, Krishna is saying, Daivam eva pare yagyam yogina Pariupashate, Pariupashate, Brahmagnam Apara Yagyam, यज्ञे वो पजुहवती. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some other sacrifices in the fire of Supreme Brahman. So I'll keep reading the translations here on so that we have a wholesome understanding of it. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control and others. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Others who are interested in achieving self realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblation in the fire of controlled mind. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed by sinful reactions, become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of results of the sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. Okay, so I wanted to read the whole thing so that there is a continuity and not verse purport. So, what is being said here is that this consumption, this being consumed in Krishna consciousness, requires a price to pay, and different people pay different prices. So it is said some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifice in the fire of the supreme Brahman. So different people do different sacrifices. Then it's talking about the brahmacharis, those who are students. The kind of sacrifice they do is through the hearing process, in the sense of sacrifice of mental control. So what do brahmacharis do? Shravanam. They hear the philosophy. There is the hearing process. There's mental control, the sense control. So for a brahmachari, for a student, there is a lot of different things they can be doing. The hormones are running. You're going through teenage life. You're going through all of that, but you're controlling your mind, and that's the sacrifice you're making for Krishna. And others, the regulated householder, sacrifice the object of sense in the fire of senses. So even in household life, it's not like because you're married, that means unregulated sex life, unregulated sense enjoyment, because that leads to the abuse of women, that leads to marital misconduct. I'm not getting in the details. I'm not married myself, so I don't have much authority to speak about this topic. But the point is, marriage is a license to have children, but for procreation, one can indulge in the activity of sexual relationship. And so it says regulated householder because there is a regulation to it, right? So, yes, it's a natural part of life, and there is a regulation aspect to it. Overindulgence or overly going sense gratification, or when there's no control over one's senses, means one is going away from the spiritual direction. Why is it so? Because when you, so the act of sense gratification is all about the body, right? The senses, what I see, what I touch, what I hear, what I smell, what I taste, all of that is about the body. Whereas the spirituality is all about the soul. So when you're absorbed in the body and bodily consciousness and bodily thoughts, it is difficult for you or for us to move towards what is good for the soul, the spiritual consciousness. The soul interacts all things related to Krishna because it's a part and parcel of Krishna. The body deals with the mind and the senses and the intelligence to satisfaction of the senses. Satisfaction of the soul is what gives us happiness. Satisfaction of the senses make us feel good, but there's still a hollowness in the heart. There's still a feeling of incompleteness. Whereas satisfaction of the soul leads to completeness in the soul. That, you know what, I feel satisfied, I feel fulfilled. And that is what is lacking in the modern materialistic world. Today, with this app, we can order food. With the app, we can get a date. With the app, we can get a cab. We can get whatever we want. Yet people are lonelier than ever before. With social media, we are interconnected like never before. But at the same time, we are unhappy. We are lonely. We are feeling that, in a crowded room, we feel that, you know what, I don't feel complete. And that's because the soul is incomplete. And only when the soul is nourished, in fact, if the soul is nourished, and even if the senses are not fully nourished, one will still be happy because the soul is feeling completeness and the soul is who we are. So, for example, if you're in the car, of course, the car needs uh, gasoline or petrol or diesel to run. The car needs the mobile liquid, the car needs the wiper fluids, the car needs all of those things to run. And without that, it will be a difficult journey, or the journey might end if there's not enough fuel in the car. Having said that, if it is all about the car and we don't feed ourselves, we won't have the strength to drive. In fact, we will faint. The car is going and we are almost dead, right? So neither of them can be true. The point is the car needs fuel, but we need food more than the car needs fuel, right? So even with half a tank of gas or half a tank of fuel, the car can run. But with a half a belly of food, can we survive? For how long? Right? So that's what's happening here. The soul needs to be nourished more than the body needs to be nourished. And if one understands it, one understands what requires for the soul to be nourished. There are certain sacrifices that are required. And this chapter is all about sacrifice, right? So here in these few verses, these 5 verses till text 30, Krishna is giving different people make different kind of sacrifices. He's talking about the yogis, or worshipping demigods, the brahmacharis, sacrificing the hearing process, or sense control or mind control. Same with the regulated grihasthas, right? Who are dharmic grihasthas. There's grihastha and grihamedi. Grihastha means those who follow the virtues of Vedic lifestyle in a married relationship. And Grihamedhi is those who do not follow the Vedic virtues in a married relationship. That is pretty much like animal life, right? And I'm not judging anyone, and please don't feel bad about yourself if this feels like, oh my God, what am I doing? It's not about making somebody feel belittled or judgment, nothing like that. We are wherever we are based on our karma. And the beautiful part is we can be uplifted like that by Krishna's mercy. But we have to have the desire to be uplifted. And the desire comes from, I want to be with Krishna in the spiritual world. I want to know God. I want to love God. I want to be with him. And Krishna is a very exclusive person. He doesn't like us. Bhakti, pure bhakti, is where exclusive devotion to Krishna. He doesn't like our devotion to get diversified or multi-branched into many different things. I'm devoted to my phone also. I'm devoted to my this also. Of course, you can be devoted to all the things in alignment with your devotion with Krishna. Because I love Krishna, I want to take care of my car, my house, my wife, my kids, my husband, my whatever, right? It might be. Because I love Krishna, and the purpose is to glorify Krishna, I want to be the best grihastha, I want to be the best student, I want to be the best teacher, the best employee, the best entrepreneur, the best professor, whatever we are, to glorify Krishna. But if that goes away, it's for my own glorification, my own social status, then we get in the trap of Maya, where it's about me. And then today everything is good, I'm happy. Tomorrow, when things are not working according to plan, then things go like, oh my God, what's happening? And we get depressed, we get unhappy because we're attached to our own glorification, right? So there are sacrifices required to go towards Krishna, to move in the Krishna direction. So here is again 29. Still others who are inclined to process. So there's breath control being talked about, restraint of the breath. The yogis, they live for hundreds of years. Even today, if you go to the Himalayas, you'll find yogis who have lived for 300, 400 years. How do they do that? Because according to the Vedas, we are given a number of breaths. That's how our lifespan is counted. Like if you even see in news media, when they say somebody died, they say breathed his last, right? Why? Because according to the Vedic understanding, there are X number of breaths that are given to individuals. And by extending your breath, you're able to live a longer life. But for what purpose? The purpose is so that you have enough time to pursue spiritual aspirations and reach enlightenment. Unfortunately, yoga today has breath control has become more about looking good and staying fit. All of that is true, but for what purpose? The purpose is unclear, right? But the Vedas define Ashtanga yoga with the purpose to extend our life so we can utilize this life in service to God and eventually reach perfection, Krishna Prema or love for God, and go back to the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha. If that doesn't happen, then we are doing something wrong. So, purpose of yoga, restraining breath, and all of that allows you to extend your life, be healthy, be fit, and it should be used for the purpose it is meant for, rather than the purpose that the current yoga studios would probably tell us to do. So it's important to understand why these things exist. So Krishna is saying that there are some people who that's the sacrifice they make is they restrain their breath, practice by offering movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath in the outgoing. Thus, they remain in trance. Trance of what? Who are they meditating on? They're meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either as Paramatma or Brahman or Bhagwan. Others curtailing the eating process offer the so these are tapasvis, people, some people who are doing tapasya, they don't eat like Hiranyakashipu and people like that. They would do extreme tapasya, sometimes would light fire. Dhruva Maharaj did extreme tapasya just to see God face to face, and he did achieve that. For us, luckily, our extreme tapasya is chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds, offering our food to Krishna, eating Krishna prasadam, dancing in the kirtan, listening to Krishna katha, etc., which is really entertainment. It's not so much of tapasya. So different people do different tapasyas. For Kali Yuga, we don't have much time. We don't have 10,000 years to do tapasya. And that is why the Hare Krishna Mahamantra has been given, which is the most powerful method of tapasya. When we are chanting, we are making sacrifice. We are sacrificing our time. We're sacrificing our mental energy to focus on the holy name of Krishna. We are sacrificing our breath, our effort, our sound energy. That's a very small sacrifice to make if you compare this to previous yugas. But because we don't have much of a lifespan, we don't have much time, our minds are not very powerful, our intelligence is not very powerful. So we have been given the simplest of all methods is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and thereby perfect our life, Krishna Katha, so philosophy and chanting of holy name. And accordingly, the chanting cleanses the heart, makes the consciousness ready for Krishna Katha or for Krishna consciousness, the philosophy. And with that philosophy, we act and we uh, move towards Krishna step by step. And then text 30, Krishna says, all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. So the cleansing process happens through these sacrifices. And thus, as our mind is cleansed of lust, greed, envy, pride, illusion, madness, we are eventually as these things leave, Krishna prema enters, love for Krishna enters, and thus slowly, slowly the attraction enters for Krishna, and we're attracted to Krishna. We move towards Krishna, and eventually love for Krishna arises in our heart. And when we leave this body, there is no more births to be taken in the material world. We move towards our eternal home, the spiritual world. So I will pause here and see if there are any questions. Please go ahead.
I would, it may not be a question, it's just a clarity that I'm looking for.
Uh-huh.
These 5, 6 verses they've always been bouncers. It just goes over the head. How many ever number of times I hear it, this is there. So this is the first time that I'm getting to an explanation of that. I just want to check with you. My understanding is right. So you can just say yes, or you can add to that. So this is about Krishna is explaining about the various ways of yajnas, different people doing different kind of yajnas to cleanse their heart or the soul and nourish the soul and eternally get that attachment to Krishna and eventually leave this world to Goloka Vrindavan. So he's basically explaining in these verses the various ways various people engage themselves to get there. So a
Correct.
broad understanding of it. Then am
That's a
I right?
broad understanding, yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. This is brilliant.
It is the same as a university student goes through so many exams, so many tests, and then eventually gets to the point where they get the degree. So,
Because generally, the breath and eating the breath and fire and this all that it's extremely confusing. You don't get to understand what exactly it is, but this is brilliant. So it's good that you went through all 5, 6 of them in one shot.
yeah. Otherwise, this wouldn't make sense. It would become very difficult if it is disjointed.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Prayash.
Yeah, so I have a friend who is joining with me.
I'm
So
not able to hear you.
now, can you hear me?
Very faintly, but go ahead.
All right, wait a second, please.
A lot better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a friend who is joining with me. Uh, so he is asking, what exactly is Krishna consciousness? Is it like seeing Krishna's touch everywhere, or what exactly it is? He's asking.
So why don't you, Prayash? You've been coming for a long time. Why don't you explain what is Krishna consciousness?
According to my understanding, is like seeing Krishna everywhere. That we have, like, we love Krishna. We see Krishna as a supreme father. That's, according to me, is Krishna consciousness. Like, it's a consciousness of Krishna in our life.
Right. And how do you see Krishna everywhere?
Because uh,
How?
like like I feel his touch everywhere. Like, I have shared a couple of stories in the group as
Yeah,
well.
but a little bit more practical for somebody who is beginner in Krishna consciousness. Let's not get in the high stuff, but how do you see Krishna's hand everywhere?
It's hard to explain, but uh, there are times where I feel that things won't go my way, but at the end, when I see that that could have happened without some without his touch there.
Okay, let's just take for example, I'm sitting in front of a ring light,
Okay.
right? Does this have anything to do with Krishna?
uh, that depends on how a person
Yes
sees
or
it.
no?
Yes, of course.
Yes. So how do I derive that?
uh, if you see it like that, you are taking this philosophy Friday class and using that ring light, so you are
No, just simple. This light that's coming on me, this ring light, is
yeah,
coming from what?
it's coming from electricity.
Electricity. Where is electricity coming from?
It's from natural resources, which is
Right.
what,
Let's say a dam, gravity.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
And where is that coming from?
That's ultimately, it's all coming from Krishna.
There you go. So then I can be grateful for this light, right? that Krishna is providing the energy through which this light is coming in my life.
Yeah, yeah,
Or let's say there's a very complicated machine in the form of a phone or a laptop or an airplane.
yeah.
Krishna has given somebody the ability to create something, mix different pieces of material energy to put together such a brilliant machine. The ability man is given by Krishna. A guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he can lift, I don't know how much kilos and whatnot, right? Huge. That you can appreciate. Wow, Krishna has empowered this person so beautifully. Everywhere when you look, a devotee sees Krishna's glories. And Krishna says it beautifully in Bhagavad Gita that Sutre Manigana Tatha, that in just like a necklace of pearls, you don't see the string which is holding the pearls together. But that is what is giving it the shape, the beauty of it. The pearls by themselves can be scattered and doesn't make anything. But if it is in a pattern and it is in a string, it is put in a necklace format, it becomes beautiful. People wear it. But nobody appreciates the string. Nobody sees the string unless somebody who knows who to really give the credit to. So Krishna is that string behind this entire creation. He's not visible, but it is all because of him. Everything rests on him, right? So, but those who are devotees, they're trained their eyes and ears and their senses to see Krishna behind everything.
Yeah.
That is Krishna consciousness.
Prabhuji, like to sum up that the gratefulness towards Krishna is Krishna consciousness for everything in our life.
Gratefulness is one thing, right? But uh, Krishna consciousness is Krishnaized. It can be money consciousness, where wherever you look for opportunities to make money, right? It can be woman consciousness. You're looking for women, dates, whatever, right? It can be food consciousness. And Krishna consciousness, where you're seeing opportunities to glorify Krishna, to serve Krishna, to be close to Krishna, to know more about Krishna, right? So whatever your consciousness is, that's how you will think, feel, and will, or rather think, feel, and act, right? So that's your consciousness. So what you think is what you act. If you feel you're hungry, you're going to go to the fridge and you're going to grab something to eat. So similarly, Krishna consciousness is accordingly what you're thinking, your actions are based on your consciousness. So gratitude is one aspect. Out of gratitude, you might act in a certain way. You might write a prayer. You can offer something as a gift, etc., etc. But there are many things but the consciousness leads to all of that. Gratitude, compassion, seeing all living beings as equals, the soul platform, spiritual platform, conserving water, conserving nature, taking care of the planet, you know, feeding the poor and hungry, etc., etc. Atheists also do it, but those who are devotees, they do it with a different consciousness as a service to Krishna. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that's really amazing. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions?
Hello, namaskaram. Um, so this is my actually the first session that I'm attending. I was actually recommended by a friend of mine. His name is Harish. So yeah, I have a few questions. So from verses 25 to 30 that you had explained that
Harish Ram Mohan?
no, yes, exactly, yes, yes. So you had explained that people undergo like different austerities and sacrifices to get their body and mind get their mind cleansed. So what if there's a position that I'm not able to perform these? Then what would be the what do you say path that I should choose, or probably the thing that I should perform in order, because these seems like mammoth of a task that has to be performed. So what would be the other ways to do this?
Yeah, thankfully. So Bhagavad Gita is a book where Krishna takes us through the journey, right? He understands that for Kali Yuga people, that these things could be a little too big. So that's why he makes it easy. So at the end, later chapters, he says, of all the processes of sacrifice, I am japa. So japa, or chanting of the holy name of Krishna, right, is the best and the easiest. So the sacrifice recommended for Kali Yuga by various scriptures, Kali Santarana Upanishad, Padma Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all of them refer to the 16-syllable Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by which one, it's the most powerful and the easiest method of doing sacrifice to cleanse your consciousness and to attain the supreme consciousness of Krishna consciousness. Does it answer your question, Yogesh?
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm actually here in California.
California. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you for joining.
yes, thanks.
All right. Any other questions anybody has? The chat section, there is something. Very soon. Okay. All right. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll continue.
Prabhuji,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have one question.
Yes.
That if I chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every single day, can I still fall in Maya?
Of course you can fall in by. It's not because when you're chanting 16 rounds, are you chanting with full focus? Most likely not at the initial stage. And are there lapses in consciousness? Yes. At every given point, we have free will. Just like, if you hear my voice, I have a little allergy. I got some dust allergy. I live a pretty healthy life, but can I get allergies? Can I get a virus? Can I get a bacteria? Of course I can. It is just part of being in material world. But we have to be cautious. We have to have our senses turned on. That, you know what, just like for Corona, we are wearing the mask. So to avoid Maya, we chant the holy name. We hear, listen, watch, have friends, associations that remind us of Krishna and allow us to also identify. The Bhagavad Gita gives us ways to red flag. Oh, I am in Maya right now. Why am I feeling this urge? Oh, this is Maya influencing. This is Sattva Guna influence. This is Raja Guna influence. This is Tama Guna influencing. So knowledge allows us to at least identify and diagnose the problem. Before that, we didn't even know we are in Maya. Happy and blissful, right? Ignorance is bliss, as they say. But now that we know, we are no more blissful. We're like, oh man, I'm in Maya. I need to chant more. I need to focus more. So yes, chanting doesn't stop you from getting in the Maya. Chanting allows you, trains up your mind to identify and choose to not be in Maya. Before that, you didn't even know that.
Yeah. I totally understand that because I feel my journey has like changed me a lot in the process of Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhuji, I have a question. Like, do we have free will?
Of course, we have free will. Always.
So, I have heard that we have something called destiny. That what is bound to happen will happen. Like we get our karma phalas, but like if that's where we bound to get, so where is the free will takes place? Because we can choose not to get there, right?
Classic
But
question. I keep getting this question. You might have not watched my karma theory lecture on YouTube, but I have answered that very nicely there. So every moment is a choice based on the past karma that we have. So currently, I am in this circumstance, right? I have certain freedoms. I can choose to use this time this way, that way, or another way. That's the destiny I have because of the karma or the choices I've made in the past. I was when the Corona thing was happening. I was in Hyderabad, and my employees told me, "Sir, can we go? Can we shut down the office?" And I was seeing this getting serious and serious, and I actually took a flight down to Calcutta. Now, if I didn't take a flight down to Calcutta, lockdown happened in a few days after that. I'd be stuck in Hyderabad. I made a choice, so I'm in Calcutta, and for the last one whole year, I'm in Calcutta, right?
Mhm.
So I made that choice. That's my karma that led to the destiny of me being here in Calcutta. And I choose not to travel. So am I choosing? Yes. And let's say I want to go to the gym and I start having healthy food and everything. I might look thinner, my water weight might go down, etc., etc. I am choosing, I am acting my karma, and I am deciding my destiny. So what has to happen will happen is based on the choices I have made.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Now, the question you might be asking me is, but how does Krishna know? Because it is predicted and all of that. So it's oh, okay, this is going to happen. So for example, astrology or palmistry, they predict that this is going to happen. So how is it our free choice? It seems like somebody has already chosen for us. It
Yes.
is our free choice, and it is predictable because we are very predictable beings. We choose things in a certain way,
Hmm.
right? So, for example, if you know somebody, let's say your cousin or your friend, might know that they like vanilla ice cream. If you give them the choice of mango, vanilla, pineapple, they will choose vanilla. But you still give them the option. You take them to a ice cream shop, and you don't make the choice for them. You say, "Hey, take whatever you want. Today is my treat." But you know that they will choose vanilla because they like vanilla. So, like that, Krishna also knows what we will choose. Yet he gives us options to choose from.
Yeah.
And we choose our destiny. It's this one thing Krishna never takes away is our free will.
Okay. But if somebody likes vanilla, they can choose something else, right?
True,
Is the choice. But if they choose the mango flavor, they won't end up where
true,
they should be going. So
true.
in that way they are not getting like the results of their karma. So
Correct.
how is that going? Because they are bound to get their karma, right? Karma back. And if they are getting a free will, a free choice, so they are like, like how is going?
Story time. Okay.
Please, please.
So Garuda, so Jagannath temple, there was this bird that was very scared, and Garuda, who's the Lord's carrier, this bird. So he saw this little bird, sparrow, was very very scared, and he's like, he asked Garuda asked the sparrow, "Why are you so scared?" He's like, "Because I've heard Yamraj is after my life." And generally in Jagannath Puri, what happens? All the demigods come to see Lord Jagannath. So all these demigods were visiting Lord Jagannath, and Yamraj also came in. And Yamraj saw the little bird, and he looked a little disturbed. He saw the bird, and was like, "Why is he here?" Then he went to see Lord Jagannath, and Garuda saw the bird, and he said, "You know what? I'll protect you from Yamraj. Let me fly you to the furthest place I can find." So he takes this sparrow and he goes to this really far away place because Garuda can fly and across planets, no problem. So he just puts this bird in this really distant place. And so finally, when Yamraj came out after meeting Lord Jagannath, he looked up and the sparrow wasn't there. And Yamraj smiled. And Garuda said, "Why are you smiling?" He's like, "Oh, when I was entering, I was kind of worried that why is the sparrow here? He's supposed to die in 1 hour by a snake bite in this tree in this such and such place. But he was here in Jagannath temple, and I was wondering, that's not how it's planned out." But thankfully, he is where he's supposed. And Garuda then realized he actually flew him to his death. You understand? So that's what's happening. We are making our choices. The destination is known. The Lord knows everything. But we are choosing
Yeah.
in this whole game. Does it clarify
Yeah.
somewhat?
Yeah. Yeah. But if we are making
Now,
a
here is
choice
an
and
anomaly to this theorem. I'll give you the anomaly to this theorem, and that is Krishna consciousness. Because according to a karma, we are supposed to live something, something, something. Just to give an example, all of you know my mentor because he comes once on a while to give lecture. So according to his astrological charts, he's supposed to be dead by 2013, 2003. My apologies, 2003. He's supposed to be dead or be in a vegetative state. So what happened was in the year of 2003, he was serving Lord Jagannath, and there was Rath Yatra happening in Chicago, and suddenly he fainted. And his wife took him to the hospital, and they said his appendix had burst, and there was toxins throughout his body. It couldn't be operated, and he would probably not survive because it was at its worst stage. And that year, by the mercy of Krishna and Guru, uh, he was in the hospital for a long time, a lot of health issues, but he survived. And since then, The astrologers say that his chart is empty. There is nothing in his chart. And he is the most happy, active person out there you can imagine by God's grace. And it's not supposed to be according to his karma. According to his karma, he's supposed to be either dead or in a vegetative state. So there's something to do with Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, Krishna says that through bhakti, one's karma is burnt away. Good and bad karma is burnt away. So because it's burnt away, you're no more in the karmic life cycle because you've made a choice to include Krishna in the picture. When you come to Krishna consciousness, then your karma and all of that gets diminished, gets burnt away. And you're no more in that trajectory, the destination that is meant to be according to your past karma. Thus, you're breaking away from that to go to a whole different direction, which is back to Krishna. Only in this situation, the effects of karma does not work. Now, it is depending on your intensity of surrender to Krishna, right? To the degree, ye yathamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. To the degree you surrender, to that degree Krishna reciprocates. So, to the degree you're intensely going towards Krishna, to that degree your karma is getting burned. To the degree your karma is getting burned, the less effects of karma and the more effects of Krishna. So, maybe in your destiny, you're not meant to be the president of India. But if it requires such that Krishna decides that's what will be helping you preach Krishna's glories, maybe that's what you get, right? So you get disconnected from your karma, and it's more about where Krishna is preparing you for your life back in the spiritual world.
Yeah, I really understand that. So, for an atheist or non-devotee, it's an illusion of free will, because they are bound to go where they will go through their choices, because they think they are making a like choice,
It's
but
not illusion, it is free will. They are choosing. Unfortunately, they are choosing blindly.
okay,
They're choosing in the dark. They don't know what is good for them, what is bad for them.
and they end
For
up.
us, this is what defines for us what is good, what is not. I shouldn't say good or bad. I should say the choices and the consequences are defined. We know from Bhagavad Gita what choices lead to what consequence. Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic choices lead to Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic outcomes, or Krishna conscious choices lead to Krishna conscious outcomes. Unfortunately, the materialists or the atheists, they are not aware of that. And thus, they are gambling with their lives. And so sometimes it works well for some people, sometimes it doesn't work well for some people.
Yeah, and they end up where they're bound to be. So, thank you,
But
Prabhu.
nobody is deciding for them. They
Yeah,
are deciding for themselves. Everybody is deciding for ourselves where we are going. And justice is being served at every moment. Karma is acting at every moment, except for those who are devotees, because then Krishna is like, okay, you know what? You're part of my family, so I'll protect you. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that if there was an ocean of karma, it gets reduced to the hoof print of a calf. Not even a footprint, it's a hoof print of a calf. And you can easily overcome that. The material world is like an ocean that is impossible to overcome. But those who surrender to Krishna, that material ocean becomes like a hoof print of a calf. So it gets reduced significantly. If you were supposed to get into an accident and probably lose something, some body part, it becomes a scratch. A little band-aid can fix it, right? That's what happens in Krishna consciousness. But that is not true for those who are in the cycle, in the automated system of karma, action, reaction, action, reaction, action. Make choices, you get the reactions. That's it. God is not part of the process. He has made the system and it works on its own, automated.
understand.
Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Okay, we're almost at 8:30. 4 minutes left. Let me see in the chat section. Prabhu, what's your take on astrology? Do you believe in it? It's not a belief, it's a science. So according to one's karma, once one is born in a certain astrological constellation, and accordingly, their life can be predicted. That, okay, you've had this kind of karma, so you have the effect of these kinds of planets on your life, and thus you're going to have this kind of a life, and this time this will happen, right? Now, unfortunately, in the Kali Yuga, you don't have too many good astrologers because it takes A, the knowledge, which is not adequately available, B, it requires sense control, which is also not, most astrologers are money minded. They're not very spiritually minded. So they don't have the power to really analyze it from that vantage point and come to. But there are some very, very good ones I've heard in South India. There are some very good astrologers who can predict very precisely. And those people also exist. But the point is not a belief, it's a science. Some know it, some don't know it. For devotees, it doesn't matter because Krishna will take care of you. He will break your astrology into half and he will take care of you. So don't worry.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was really well explained. Thank you.
Most welcome. Amit Rajan Rai. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, can I ask a personal question? Last 2 days, I'm suffering from Bell's palsy. What I can do from bhakti? What's Bell's palsy? I have no idea what that is.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, actually, right side my face is not working good and some problem.
Oh,
Last, yeah,
you should see a doctor.
yeah,
I mean, this is something a doctor should do. This is to deal with the body, right?
yeah.
So see a doctor.
Actually, I don't consult my doctor and give some medicine and tell me 7 or 5 days to reform.
The only bhakti remedy I can give you for anything is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So
Yeah,
take the medications and chant the holy name, pray to Krishna. I'll pray for you also. And then hope you get well, get better soon.
yeah. I chant 1 to 2 rounds morning and evening.
Sure. But just keep in mind, chanting, it is not chant, we don't chant for better health, money, and things like that. But at the initial stage, it is okay to ask Krishna because at least you are asking Krishna. You're not going to Ganesh, you're not going to demigods, you're not going to here and there. Krishna says, those who come to me, I see them as Mahatma, right? So pray to Krishna, but also know that eventually that is not the highest thing. The highest thing is we don't pray to Krishna for anything. He gives what he wants to give, and he knows what we need, and he takes care of us.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. Yogesh is asking, why do we interpret it as choices and consequences instead of punya and papam? What is punya and papam? Um, I like to see. Yeah, it is punya and papam. So, what is punya? There are Vedic ways of living. So, just like there are traffic laws, you break the traffic law, you get penalized if you get caught by the police. In the Vedic system, dharma is given by God Himself. There are dharmic principles. You break the dharmic principles, there are consequences for it. And if you uphold the dharmic principles, the consequences are less. But still, there are consequences. Every action is a reaction. Now, the point is, I don't like to say it as punya and papam because at our level, it's very easy to get suddenly proud. I am living a pure life. I'm a God conscious person. And look at you, haha, you're a sinner. You're a puppy. You're a bad person. You're a materialist. You're an atheist. You're a this and you're a that. And that is not what a devotee does. So it's my personal choice. I don't like to use words like punya, papa, and kind of discriminating it. I like to say consequences because I don't want us to be judgmental of others. A devotee of Krishna is compassionate towards others. So if somebody is suffering, even that person has done terrible things, we pray for them. That my dear Krishna, it must be such bad karma that they have done such terrible things that they're suffering. Please, if you so desire, make it good for them. That compassion goes away when we look at the whole world as, oh, this person is doing pop, and this person is doing punya, so this person is going to heaven, this person is going to hell. It's a very Christian idea, and that's not how our Vedic system is, right? So that's the choice. I hope that clarifies. If not, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Uh, Chandrima Chaturaj is asking, is it dependent on karma that we get introduced to Krishna consciousness? No. Krishna consciousness does not have anything to do with karma. You get introduced to Krishna consciousness by causeless mercy of Krishna. Either your own eagerness, as well as the causeless mercy of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So bhakti comes from a bhakta. Somebody found you, brought you to Philosophy Friday, introduced you to Bhagavad Gita. That is that devotee's kindness. So bhakti comes from bhakta, and Krishna is behind the picture. You must have had some sincere desire to know Krishna. So he found someone to point you in this direction. It's not a matter of karma. Sohil is asking, can I call myself a devotee? The only thing I am doing right now is listening to Kirtan and attending Philosophy Friday. Of course. So there are different levels of devotee. There's Kanishta Adhikari, the beginners. There's Madhyama Adhikari, and there's Uttama Adhikari. But all of them are devotees. In fact, Lord Chaitanya says that those who've chanted Krishna's one name even once is a devotee. So in one sense, yes. But don't consider yourself a devotee because again, it can lead to pride. So I like to think the way I think or I write is aspiring devotee, right? Even Radharani is thinking like that. She's always aspiring to be a better devotee of Krishna. So are you a devotee? Yes, absolutely. No questions, right? You're coming to Bhagavad Gita, you're applying it, asking nice questions. It's touching your heart. Definitely you're a devotee. But in your own mindset, don't consider yourself a devotee. Consider yourself aspiring devotee, where there's always room for growth, right? Okay,
Thank you, Prabhu.
sure. Uh, Perfect. Got it. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Only eating prasadam is good. Good book to read. Only eat prasadam is good book to read. Okay, maybe that's the book name. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Good night, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Good night.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.